Huddle Up Podcast is sponsored by Arena Eats. Log on to the website arenaeats.app, that's arenaeats.app, for the ultimate fan experience. At your favorite sports venue, Arena Eats mobile app, pre-order, express pickup, and in-seat delivery. How do you place your order? Sean, a few news topics in the NFL before we get to our game picks for the week. You got a new wide receiver down there in Tampa Bay, Sean. That is the big news. Officially signed today, Antonio Brown. We posted earlier the contract details, and man, they're going for it. They want it.
Oh, they do, and Tom wants it, and Tom says, "I need this." It's just kind of baffling watching, a guy like Bruce Arians who, despite, and I'm not saying Jameis had a real voice down here, but despite his struggles in Arians' offense and the changes that people pointed, like playing to his strength more, simplifying the offense thing, like it was like no, I'm a system coach, it's my team, but like it was just kind of this whole like, well, he can't buy into Arians' system, and you get a guy like Tom down here who's like, another wide receiver would be nice. And they're like, well, Tom, he's been in trouble with the law in the league, and it doesn't matter. These two Pro Bowl wide receivers aren't enough. I need to make sure that I have all the crutches I need.
Which is exactly what I need as a Mike Evans fantasy owner. The guy's already allergic to touchdowns this year. Hell, he's allergic to catches this year. And now you're going to put Antonio Brown in there.
I do know that if you drive down to the shore of the bay here in St. Petersburg and put your ear kind of towards the water, you can already hear Antonio Brown's mouth from the other side. So that's pretty exciting. Look, I don't think fantasy owners of the other receivers should be panicking as far as the kind of their run to the playoffs. My fear would be kind of late in the season. But let's be honest, if your fantasy wide receiver is Mike Evans or Chris Godwin, the same situation should be scaring you way more than Antonio Brown. It's the fact that neither one of them has two legs that can seem to make it more than 4 games in a row. So let's not worry about Antonio Brown cutting into their targets. I'd be much more worried about their legs. If anything, Antonio Brown's going to eat into some targets, which may, prevent the number of hits they're taking in a game. Instead of, 7 catches on 14 targets, maybe you can hope for 7 out of 8, maybe catch every single one of them. So I don't think I do see Dan chiming in from the LTZ, the LAN. I don't know what Lancaster's thing is, but do any mid-season signings actually ever make a big difference? Occasionally, not usually from like a big fantasy perspective or a big numbers perspective. But you're right. As long as it's not a scenario where you're replacing somebody who's hurt, it's rarely going to be a situation like that. It's very rare that this late in the season that person is a multi-time MVP and Super Bowl winner. That makes it kind of a different ball game. And I think the guy still has a lot of talent. I think your big fear if you're Tampa Bay is you can't get him too involved in the offense, because all it takes is one slip and the league's going to jump on the guy.
Sure.
He doesn't have a lot of rope to work with here. So, if he's cleaned up his act, great. If he can do something with Tampa, good for him, I guess. But
and it's a risk-free signing for Tampa. Low value. It's an incentive laden. So, it's on Antonio Brown to not not screw it up. The closest one you can even make a comparison to here is when the Cowboys traded for Amari Cooper, and he paid off pretty good dividends, in the short term. The other thing you have a little bit of an advantage is, even though it was, a week or two, but Brady has worked with Antonio Brown. Now they haven't worked together in an Arians offense. So will it have immediate impact? Maybe, probably not. But if Brown can stay out of his own way, I think this has more potential late in the season and into the playoffs, which is why I think you make this signing. I don't think you're worried about it in the short term. I think you're looking January, February, which if he can stay out of his own way, you get integrated. Because, I mean, we saw the first couple weeks of the season, Brady didn't look like himself. All of a sudden, he's starting to look like himself again. Gronk's starting to look like himself again. That Tampa team's starting to look a little bit dangerous. So, it's and again, it's a matter more of Brown staying out of his own way. The guy, I kind of compare him in a way, and I know we've talked about this, obviously not on the show before, but almost like a guy like Terrell Owens, who is always going to be physically ready to play. And I think Antonio Brown physically ready to play. It's a matter, can he stay out of his own way mentally and stuff like that is going to be the big question.
Well, yeah, and I think as far as the Antonio Brown sign, I see about an insurance policy. Jake asking, is there an insurance policy on the contract? I'd imagine very little of it is guaranteed. It's a small signing, but it's a 1-year deal. So even if there's not a huge insurance policy, that 1 year is a big insurance policy in itself. You're getting them for, half the games. But he makes a good point. He says it helps Mike Evans. I would agree. I think anything to draw attention away from him. Mike Evans is tremendous at the point of the catch. And when you're down a Godwin and your other guys on the field are named Scotty Miller, Scotty don't. These guys are good skill players, and yeah, exactly. 1 week you're like, oh, he's the best fantasy signing in the world, and the next 2 weeks 3 targets. So don't buy the Scotty Miller hype just yet. But it's gone. He has 1 week left. You want to buy in on Scotty Miller one time? This is the week. Try him out. Maybe he gets a deep ball. Maybe he scores a touchdown. Maybe he doesn't. And even if he does, cut him because Antonio Brown's coming to town,
right?
To take all.
Yeah, this is your week.
But Antonio Brown, like you said, not a huge risk, but he should draw some attention, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's a decoy early. Scotty doesn't know. Thank you, Dan. Does Scotty know? No, Scotty doesn't know. What Scotty doesn't know is that he's about to have 0 targets a game after this week coming up, so he better get open. But from the sound of things down here, people are pretty excited about it, I guess. Obviously you would. I do often, the question I brought up is, is always this big thing of, when Brady leaves Belichick, like if either of them are going to win another title, who's going to do it? And I think people always kind of sided on the Belichick side of things. He'll find a way to win with whoever it is. That's proving to be false. Turns out Cam Newton, not the next big thing, as far as QB rating and yeah. Cam Newton's no Matt Castle, I'll tell you that.
Ain't that the truth?
But Tom Brady, like he comes down, he's going to save that hapless franchise. He's going to be the, do you say like when you start signing, like all of a sudden Gronk comes to town too, and now you got an Antonio Brown. If Antonio Brown proves to be anything, worth it, and you look at the defense and go, well, I guess the defense last year was real. Did Tom really save it? Like, I know these two probably wouldn't have signed here. Were Tom not the at the helm. So
yeah,
so
I don't think you get Gronk and Brown without Tom Brady.
It's true, and in that sense, maybe he does. But it would be. I'm curious to see how that spells out. I'm sure the folks here in Tampa are just fine with whatever the situation is. You want to play with Tom? Come play with Tom.
I'm just happy. I'm obviously not happy that another NFC team is potentially going to win the Super Bowl. But as somebody who does like to watch the world burn a little bit, I'm going to enjoy watching sports media and sports Twitter explode if Tom Brady wins a Super Bowl somewhere else. And
James, you're a Cowboys fan, and I'm an Eagles fan. More years than not, we're gonna watch another NFC team have a chance to win.
Well, but actually, wait. Like regardless, I always pull for a AFC team. Because I don't want any other NFC team. But if Brady does it, I've always said this. Tom Brady's never hurt me. Like obviously people around here, Steelers fans, Ravens fans, Eagles fans. Brady's hurt you guys, so I get it. I have friends who are Broncos fans. I get it. He's hurt you. He's never hurt
Eagles
me.
fans hate Tom Brady, or just like kidding themselves.
Well, they're mad because he won a lot.
He beat us in the Super Bowl. Like we got him back. But, like, there's no Eagles fan that could possibly, in any realistic fashion, going into that Super Bowl where, you had a Terrell Owens on one leg going in against that team that was going on. We got to go Broncos. Drew Lock. He'll look it up. But there was no way anybody was going to honestly predict that the Eagles were going to win that. If I said Eagles would have needed a perfect game, Brady would have had to make a bunch of mistakes. We did the opposite, made our mistakes, and still were within a field goal of winning that game. So you can blame it on Donovan throwing up, nerves, whatever you want to call it. That was a gutsy showing by both squads.
Sure.
And Brady, there was no reason Brady didn't break your heart in that one.
Yeah, Tom's never hurt me, so
they were winning the whole time.
So I've always had zero issue with the Patriots, and watching somebody be that good at what they do is just it's masterful. He's
call him a cheater if you want, but I'd rather have somebody that wants to win bad enough to cheat. Then I'd rather have that than somebody who just doesn't mind losing.
Or that won't stand up when your quarterback gets his head taken clean off his body. Huddle Up Podcast is sponsored by Arena Eats. Log on to the website arenaeats.app, that's arenaeats.app, for the ultimate fan experience. At your favorite sports venue, Arena Eats mobile app, pre-order, express pickup, and in-seat delivery. How do you place your order? Transition here.
Sounds like some hurt feelings. You got a little something irritating you there.
Obviously Cowboys Twitter is just an absolute mess at this point. Fans ready to sell Mike McCarthy up the river already. 6 games in, 7 games in. Which my question, it wasn't a question of the week because I think the Indiana topic had much more meat on the bone. But people saying should Mike McCarthy be on the hot seat? Is he on the hot seat? Look, it's hard enough to come into a team like Dallas where a head coach has arguably, very little to zero control. And then now you have to do this with a weird camp, a weird offseason, no scrimmages, no preseason, Dak breaking his ankle. Now you have Andy Dalton. You're on second and third string offensive line. Your defense is bad. Mike Nolan's defenses are historically terrible. Your mistake there is probably having Mike Nolan as your DC. He should be one to go. Kellen Moore should probably find a new place to work too as an OC. That may have been a poor choice. But I'm not willing to even if the Cowboys finish 2-14, I'm not willing to say let's bag the Mike McCarthy experience after game 1. The Cowboys have been with Jason Garrett and then Wade Phillips and Dave Campo for decades. And it is a culture of failure. It is a culture of losing. That's going to take more than 7 weeks and no preseason to fix. This notion that Mike McCarthy, even if the Cowboys are at full strength, they should be a lot better than they are. But with the way the cookies have crumbled so far in the first 7 weeks this year, and that you're potentially starting Ben DiNucci in Philadelphia this Sunday, that's not great. That's just not great. So, I'm not happy about it. However, I'm not ready to sell Mike McCarthy out and say we need to find a new head coach again, because it's way too early to be talking any of that.
I do like the emergence of, you said cookie, but I do like the emergence of a potential hashtag, and that's the way the Cowboys crumble. I do like that a lot. That's the way the Cowboy crumbles. Oh man, that's the way the Cowboy crumbles. That could be a hashtag for that Dak injury. That'd be terrible.
That would not be very nice.
Be in poor taste, but I'm not above it. Anyway, as far as Dallas goes, I think jumping on McCarthy's like you said. The number of coaches that have come and gone and probably should have gone faster than they did get gone. I just always have found it interesting. What are these veteran coaches? Obviously it's a heck of a paycheck going to Dallas, especially if you're a guy being courted by the Cowboys, and there's no way you're going to turn that down. But I always wonder if a guy like McCarthy's going in there with the mindset, I could be the coach that brought Dallas back. And darn well the media in Dallas and whose pockets, are being filled by who and who's doing what, that Jerry Jones is going to take complete credit for anybody that brings that team back to relevance. So I if there was one positive that would come out of a Cowboys Super Bowl win in my brain, that's the only one I can think of, is the fiasco of like who's responsible for it,
who takes credit, who gets the.
But it's not going to happen because
No.
until Jerry Jones is dead or leaves the team or relinquishes full control, it's going to continue to be the dumpster fire. And Jake brought up Wade Phillips. I will say this: Wade Phillips would have already thrown that defensive coordinator right out into the streets.
Oh, I loved Wade Phillips as a defensive coordinator. Do not get me wrong.
I still do.
I would take him back in a heartbeat as a DC.
Take anyone from the Phillips family. You can give him Wade Phillips' second cousin. I bet he knows more about defense than whoever's running Dallas's camp.
But I do not. I was speaking to him as a head coach. He was terrible as a head coach. Should have never been the head coach.
Did not go well.
No. Much like most head coaches in the last 25 years.
But yeah, Dallas needs to just you wanted to see what McCarthy could do with the starting unit. You wanted to see what he could do with some talent there and see if he could guide it anywhere. It didn't quite look like it. I mean, offensively, they look great. We don't know how inflated those stats were. But you got to give him another chance. I mean, who are you going to go sign? There's not another Mike McCarthy available.
No.
So if you're going to try it with a veteran guy and you want him to build a system, for crying out loud, if Gruden can have as many years as he does out there in the desert, you may as well give him one more.
Yeah, exactly. Huddle Up Podcast is sponsored by Arena Eats. Log on to the website arenaeats.app, that's arenaeats.app, for the ultimate fan experience. At your favorite sports venue, Arena Eats mobile app, pre-order, express pickup, and in-seat delivery. How do you place your order?